Akame Ga Kill. What a series, and I can say this honestly. I know views are mixed when it comes to Akame Ga Kill, and it's taken me almost 2 years to finally figure out how I felt about it, but I've been wanting to put my thoughts into video form for a while now. The anime began airing on July 7, 2014 and continued until December 15, 2014, while the manga ran from March 20, 2010 to December 22, 2016. There's a clear problem here. When an anime adaptation of any manga appears during a manga's run, it means one of two things. 1. The manga's ending soon, so the anime will have the full story for ease during anime adaptation. Or 2. The anime is going to follow the manga until it catches up, and then the creators take the framework for the rest of the manga and use said framework to create an original script to complete the rest of the story. Now, option 1 works in more ways than the obvious, because of course if the manga ends before the anime reaches its episode cap, then the anime can fully and properly adapt the manga without majorly altering the source material. And if the manga hasn't completed a certain arc as of the anime reaching said arc, or the manga still hasn't ended on time, this is where filler comes in, which is an original arc having nothing to do with the source material's story and fills time until the manga finishes the arc or its entire run. Filler is fine if done right, but is known for typically just being a nuisance which halts the progress of the main story in the anime adaptation. But at least it's better than option 2. Because in option 2, it's a make or break situation. It's like flipping a coin, heads and tails. These are complete opposites. They don't go together. And this is where my problem with Akame Ga Kill comes in. It follows option number 2. It takes the framework of the Akame Ga Kill manga and begins its own original story at episode 20 because the anime was catching up to the manga and they didn't have enough time to let the manga finish. I actually stopped watching the series altogether when the show did this, and honestly had no intention of ever finishing it. But my friends kept nagging, so a year later I begrudgingly finished it. Now don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say I hate the Akame Ga Kill series because I loved reading the manga and kept reading it after the anime stopped following the source material. So yes, I like Akame Ga Kill. I just have problems with the anime. And I know a lot of people love the anime and a lot of people hate the anime. And usually it seems like there's a defining split between the two options. Those who have read the manga and those who have not. Everything's all fine and dandy until episode 20 where it becomes weird. I already said this, but this episode is where the anime and manga split from each other. And for someone who was following the manga since early days, it's hard to see something I loved at the time be crushed by an episode cap and time restriction. And I'm sure others have felt the same way. Maybe not with Akame Ga Kill, maybe with a different show. The show felt like it was missing something at this point. Episode 20 felt normal when it started and instantly jumped off. Like the pacing was wrong, or maybe the events didn't feel right. I honestly can't explain it, but right as Lubba and Tatsumi get tricked, the episode no longer feels right, and as soon as I saw this, I was put off. For the remainder of this video, I'm just going to talk about stuff that happens after episode 19 in terms of the manga and anime. Now, it's very possible to see the key similarities between the manga and anime as either progresses through key events but occurring in different ways, not to mention a lot of neglect occurs in terms of care for characters or plot. The growth of characters is very different in Akame Ga Kill after episode 19. The show is actually rushed at this point. For example, the Jaegers are much more respectable in the manga than the anime as they get more time in the limelight to grow as characters and interact with each other. It could be argued that these characters had time in the show to grow, but nothing like the events that happen in the manga. You learn to love the Jaegers. They become respectable and even grow so much as to see how the acts behind Night Raid could possibly be justified. They become people. They're no longer just a nuisance the writer put in to have an opposing force that tries to stop Night Raid from doing anything every arc. Wave, who's basically the mirror image of Tatsumi, gets to grow so much and, dare I say it, even becomes cooler than Tatsumi in the manga. Characters like Kurama no longer die and instead get to live. She grows as a character despite the pain and regret she feels for her fallen comrades. She learns that she doesn't have to keep doing the things she does to appease the people who died fighting with her and can actually live her own life. The people she killed continue to haunt her. She can't forgive herself, and yet she learns to forgive herself and atone for what she did. The relationship between Wave and Kurama is what drives the development of these characters, and I really wish it was able to grow more in the anime. Lubba still dies, but also gets more time in the limelight, as he dies in a much more respectable way in terms of the story. We get to see some passion from him, and the connection between him and Agenda is solidified to a point where we feel saddened. Lubba, our comic relief, suddenly becomes a character we care for deeply, someone who we wish could rise from the ashes and fight with the rest of Night Raid to the end of the manga. Leone also dies, but again in a much more respectful way. It makes sense for her to die now, but in the anime, it just happens, and you're left asking what the heck just happened. Now Leone tells Akame she is done. She is okay with dying because she has finished her duties and is satisfied. Leone has nothing to gain from being alive. She's completed her life's goal and is happy. She can die in peace. Yes, it's still a bit absurd, but it's more peaceful and makes sense. Tatsumi also has a much more interesting side to him as he begins to have issues with Incursio after Estef captures him earlier in the show. The stakes become dire for him now, as every time he uses Incursio, he risks death and possibly infusing himself with the Imperial Arm, which would kill him. To some, this might not seem like an important aspect of the series, but it allows for tension and fear to arise between the characters. This scenario shows us the bonds between Tatsumi and those in Night Raid, who all fear he might die at any moment from using Incursio. It allows for somber moments to occur and makes the audience concerned, wanting more because so much is being set up and we just can't wait to find out how all of it plays out. Mine, my favorite character, no longer dies, but instead becomes a vegetable who Tatsumi uses as a reason to fight for. She becomes Tatsumi's drive to fight, and because of that, he grows as a character into an even more serious one who may even take his training too seriously. In the end, Mine comes out of her vegetable state and the two get their peaceful life together and no longer have to fight. They raise a family together and the audience is left feeling as if everything is okay. In this moment, it becomes definitive that the battles are truly over. The only aspect of Akame Ga Kill which gets no true closure is Akame herself. Her time with Night Raid has come to an end. She's permanently stuck with a curse that pains her all over her body, and in order to help keep the new empire stable, Ninjenda has her assassinate those who plan to interfere with the new monarchy. In the end, Akame gets nothing. She decides she should no longer remain the new capital and sets off to find the origins of Murasame. The last scene of the manga leaves us with a newly determined Akame who, although saddened that the time she has spent with her friends has passed, decides it's time to move forward and grow. The anime and manga have a very different take. The anime should not have only been 24 episodes, and it should have been more than one season. The show started at a strange time, and they decided it best to finish it for good. I believe if the show had more airtime, if the show was not rushed and instead taken delicately, it could have been a greater show. Instead, we are left with something mediocre, something we would tell others was okay or alright and quickly recommend something else. Akame Ga Kill is loved by many, and in many different ways. Those who have read the manga understand where I'm coming from, and those who have only watched the anime may feel like they missed out on something great. Akame Ga Kill may not be my ultimate #1 choice when it comes to any manga or anime, but it will always have a special place in my heart for being one of the few series I loved. Now, the Akame Ga Kill series is still going, with both Akame Ga Kill 0, its prequel, and Hinoa ga Yuki, which is considered a spin-off but takes place right after the events of Akame Ga Kill. Both are currently being produced in manga form, each with a different cast of characters, but with Akame playing a key role in the story. In the end, the Akame Ga Kill anime does not do justice to the manga in any way. From the perspective of a person who has read the manga, I see the anime as a lower status. But from the perspective of a person who never read the manga, the show seems decent. If you watch this video only ever having watched the anime adaptation of Akame Ga Kill, I highly suggest you read the manga. There's way more to the manga than the things I've said in this video, and I can promise you there are plenty of moments where you'll be hooked. Entire arcs, and even a whole other group called Wild Hunt aren't included due to time restrictions. The last episode where the anime and manga are still one-on-one links up with chapter 38 of a 78 chapter manga. There are 40 chapters missing from the anime with sprinkles of different chapters mixed in, mainly those from the later chapters. As I said before, this is due to the fact that the anime caught up to the manga, and the anime's production team had to take the framework for the rest of the manga, cut out major portions of it, and complete the story in a way which would allow for the show to end within its planned episode cap. Even at the end of episode 19, things play out slightly different. It isn't a major difference, they just added an extra scene and a few extra dialogue lines between Tatsumi and Mine. This was just the anime's way of preparing to go solo and part ways with the manga. Akame Ga Kill is a fun series at heart, and keeps its audience hooked through every trial and tribulation these characters go through. It constantly presents new issues, and keeps readers on their toes. For those who have not read the manga or never plan to, I can promise you, it's worth the trip, and it won't leave you disappointed.